Hello, my name is Michele Rae, and I'm the owner and coach, transformational coach with the Center Within. And I delight working with clients who are moving into their power, creating a life that they love, both personally and interpersonally and professionally. And one of the things I am seeing in myself and in my clients is that we are entering and in the process of transitioning towards a new era, is what we're calling it, some of us. And this new era feels like a time where we are moving out of a sense of divisiveness and scarcity and lack. And we're moving into an era where there's equanimity, interconnectedness. We're really focusing on creating new systems, whether it's in education, government, finance, healthcare, politics, where it is sustainable, where we are interconnected to each other, the greater good, the planet herself, and all the beings we share this planet with. So clients are coming to me in this new era, wanting to co-create in their own lives and in community and in their families, choices, lives that are in alignment with who they are becoming. And it is an honor and a privilege for me to walk alongside of them in a coaching perspective, to be able to ask some good questions, dig deeper. I have an intuitive capacity that is of assistance and really call into the room the intuitive capacity of my clients. And together we get clarity, we remove barriers, and we really find that inner genius, that inner essence and presence that wants to fully blossom and create in this new era. So as we human beings navigate into this new era, we have access to a higher level of consciousness. I'm so excited about this time of transformation. I've written a book called Living from the Center Within that outlines what consciousness is, why it matters to continue to increase our human accessibility to higher levels of consciousness, and describes a map of 3 levels of consciousness. When we begin on this process of human development, we know ourselves, have a personal identity of I being an individual. And in that model, it's sort of me against the world, right? I spend some time on protect and defend. I worry a bit about lack and scarcity. There isn't quite enough to go around. And during that time of development, I'm healing my holes. I'm finding the ways that I am emotionally, socially, physically, financially, relationally, not as developed as I want to be. So in coaching during that phase of development, we work to see where we think we are not enough, right? And move into this place of filling our holes, into this place of wholeness. And I call that level of development in consciousness the level of the interconnected. And as an individual functions at that level of consciousness, they recognize that they're part of an interwoven, interconnected, morphic quantum field of consciousness. And this is where we really start to notice subtle energies, subtle ways of knowing. We have an intention, we're clear about moving forward, and we start to recognize the miracles and the alignments that happen in response to our intentions. We have the ability to have our awareness more and more in the present moment. So we have full access to our gifts and talents and strengths. And beyond this interconnected where we live and play and have our being and recognize that our contributions greatly enhance the whole and the contributions of others, enhance us, we have opportunities to move into an even higher level of consciousness. And that is the what I call I knowing that I am part of the infinite. We also call it unity consciousness, where we recognize that we in fact are one living organism in the cosmos, attached to one breath, attached to one presence, one underlying source energy. And as we live and move and have our being in the world, our perspective changes depending on what level of consciousness we operate at. And what is so amazing to me is the joy and the ease and flow and grace that continues to expand in our awareness the more our consciousness expands. So we don't ever lose myself as an I am individual. I just know as I expand into I as interconnected, that I am also interconnected. And same into I am an infinite, part of the infinite. We know ourselves as an individual. We also recognize the interplay of subject and object, and we recognize the unity of all beings. So one of the ways to think about this vast field of consciousness that humanity is gaining more and more access to, it's like the musical notes, let's say, and our hearing, our perceptive capacity, and our ability to apprehend more of the subtle energies continues to expand. So the quantum field is so amazing. There is this interconnected field, which we learn about from quantum mechanics. And it's fascinating to me because in quantum mechanics, it says that there's this whole field of possibilities. And which one comes into manifestation is dependent upon which one is observed. So in particular, in a little quantum particle, a little photon, it can be a wave or a particle. It can be in two states at one time, lives in this possibility. And literally, when it's observed in a laboratory, it comes into being, it actually takes shape. So for us as humanity, being part of this quantum field, of the field of consciousness, we want to be very intentional about what we are giving our attention to, what we are observing, because what we focus on grows. We know that from a neuroscience perspective, from the way the mind and the body are connected, all in a similar principle. So moving forward, our job, our invitation from me to you, from us to each other, is to move forward in service, co-creating who we are becoming at the highest level of consciousness possible. So if I'm in service at a level of I am individual and operate on a fundamental principle of lack or scarcity or focusing on differences, I automatically must judge. I have more than you do, so I can be of service to you who has less than I do, right? It's this constant sense of hierarchy. When we move into understanding I am also an interconnected being, now my level of service in the world is to shine brightly, to find my own potential, to realize it, to be the most amazing genius person I can be. It's kind of like being in an orchestra and interconnected. I want to play my instrument, this vessel, the very best I can. And for me, being an intuitive, holistic, integrative, transformational master coach is my way of being in service in the world. And when I work with people, I can feel into your genius, right? So I want you in your vessel, in the metaphor of an orchestra, playing your instrument to be the very best you can be. What is that inner essence in you wanting to manifest? How what you focus on, what you observe, what you grow, then manifests in your life. And then you are able to offer service as a dentist, as a musician, as a mother, as a gardener, right? Whatever this vessel wants to play that's in alignment with your authentic self. And then in that service in the world, you see each other as brilliant. And now we each call each other into our very best selves. And again, service, once we've tapped into that sense of being part of the infinite, we can be in that unity consciousness, in community in that way. And now all of a sudden, there are miraculous service opportunities that arise. Somebody calls us to be on a board or create a new service project or a new company. It's collaborative, it's a dance, right? And it's all coming from this place of all beings are precious, celebrated, and reverent. So the value of living in and as higher consciousness not only brings a tremendous increase to your own satisfaction, your own connection, your own worthiness and lovability. As you gain confidence and get stable in higher levels of consciousness, you invite each other, you invite everyone you meet, personally and professionally, to do the same. So then the question becomes, if living in and as higher consciousness is appealing to you, what are some next steps? How do we get there? For me, the heart of this is mindful living, our ability to manage our attention, bring our awareness into the present moment, to be with what is without judgment. And in that place of clarity, not in the past, not lamenting, ruminating, not in the future, not in what ifs, but in this moment. What are the very best choices I can make to create a life I love in honoring of all beings? There's a number of practices that can bring you into the present moment. Some of my favorites are breathing, just bringing my attention onto my breath, bringing my attention onto my 5 senses. What in this moment am I smelling, tasting, hearing, touching, right? Sensing. Other practices include meditation, in guided imagery, right? Where we use our mind to bring us into the present moment. One of my favorite guided imageries is thinking about my favorite vacation spot, and what is that feel like, smell like, taste. And then I can bring that moment into this moment and calm my body, open my senses to be able to pick up these subtle energies and ways of knowing, cultivate my intuition, synchronicities, increase my knowing. Reading is a wonderful way, sacred texts, books on mindfulness, on the mind-body connection, how to self-regulate, right? How to unhook stimulus that triggers us into being overly reactive and overly aroused, to be able to notice that right away in the moment, take a deep breath and be able to respond rather than react. Being in nature is another amazing way to bring ourselves fully into the present moment, to center ourselves. So there are a number of different practices. Again, there's an entire chapter in my book dedicated to these transforming practices and to understand the process of how our bodies, our minds, our hearts continue to evolve as we learn new skills. Another area is in communication, in how we are with another, to be able to learn nonviolent communication, authentic communication, and to be able to be in relationship that is nurturing and loving and supportive, rather than in relationships that, again, feel like we have to have turf battles and there's not enough. And these are all skills very practical, everyday skills that we can utilize to enhance, again, our emotional, social intelligence, our conversational intelligence, our spiritual intelligence, and all of the ways that we are whole, all the aspects of our self, to continue to develop the parts of us that may be more underdeveloped, utilizing underlying principles and practices of mindfulness. So if you're willing and have a few more seconds, I'm going to invite you to close your eyes, to take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. And connect in deeply to all of us across the planet who are intentionally living mindfully, co-creating into the new era, elevating our level of consciousness, developing our ability to be human at an optimal level of development. Feel into your heart space, into something you are grateful for. Maybe it's a person or a circumstance. And as we focus for a few moments on our breath and on gratitude, we literally quiet our body, our minds, and bring our mind, body, spirit into coherence, resonance, not only internally, but that beautiful gift you are offering right now radiates across the field of consciousness into the quantum morphic field and gifts all who can partake of it. So blessings to you on your journey, whether we meet again or not. Thank you for your time with this video, and I wish you all the best in your journey to be your most empowered self.